Now today's class is the final Twitter marketing class. We are going to be learning how to integrate Twitter in with our website this time. Now that Twitter is all set up, we can finally get everything connected with our website. So we're going to be setting up the custom Twitter plugin that I've provided for you guys for this class. And this will allow us to easily create tweets from our website and have them automatically published onto our Twitter account for us. So we don't have to be jumping around to all these different social networks every time we are creating a new post on our website. Now, in addition to that, we are also going to be integrating a follow us on Twitter button. This will be going into the header of our website so we can build more followers on Twitter off of our website traffic, because obviously not all of our website traffic will have originated from Twitter. So we want to give people the option of following us on the social network of their choice. So to start with, I'm going to be going over to the Twitter website. I am logged into my account, and I am actually up here in the settings. If you either go to Edit Profile or to Settings, you can get to a page where you see this menu on the left. You are looking for the mobile link here, and this takes you to a page to add a mobile phone to your Twitter account. Now, you might be wondering, why are we doing this? What does this have to do with everything I was just talking about? Well, in order to use the Twitter plugin that is going to post our tweets for us, we have to be able to verify our Twitter account in this manner by adding a mobile phone. Now, I understand that not everybody out there will have a mobile phone number, but it doesn't mean that you can't do this particular step. You simply may have to go through some other steps first before you can proceed here, because you will need a mobile phone number that is also capable of sending text messages. But not only that, you need to be able to send a text message to a short code phone number. Now, a short code phone number, in the United States at least, it is a 5-digit number. You've probably seen TV advertisements before for silly ringtone services, and they'll say text such and such to this 5-digit number, and we'll send you that ringtone. And then in the small print they tell you that they're gonna subscribe you to a monthly contract where they continue to send you that type of thing. Well, you're gonna have to send a text to a 5-digit phone number here. However, there are absolutely no charges associated with this whatsoever. It is simply a system that Twitter has set up to automatically handle all of this. Now, there are a lot of free text messaging services online that will offer you mobile phone numbers. However, not all of those are actually compatible with that short code phone number. They won't allow you to send a number to a 5-digit mobile phone number. They require a full phone number. Well, you need one of the services that will allow you to use those short code numbers. Now, if you live in the United States, this is really easy to do. All you need is any kind of a phone number that is based within the US. It doesn't have to be a mobile phone number. It can be a landline number. You can then take that number and get your own mobile phone number with it that you can use for this particular purpose. Now, if you're not located within the USA, it becomes a little bit more complicated to try to teach you exactly what to do or what service to use, because those services and kind of the rules that surround all of that can really vary from one country to the next. So if you're not in the USA and you do not have a mobile phone number already, you may need to do some Google searching to try to find a service that will allow you to get that mobile phone number that you can use for short codes. So you could search for something like, let's say if you live in the United Kingdom, you could search for UK send text to short code number and see if you can find some kind of service that will allow you to do that. Now, I've also included some support articles from Twitter that talk about this type of stuff. If you live outside of the USA and do not have a mobile number, take a look at those support articles that are referenced in the guidebook, and they can potentially help you out. There's certain countries like, I think there's 3 of them listed. The UK is definitely one of them. They actually provide a full phone number that you can use for the verification purpose, and that may potentially be able to be used with a free mobile phone number that you create online, even if it's not compatible with those short codes. So if you're having any issues, check out those support articles, and they may be able to help you get past your individual situation. And worst case, if you cannot get past this step and you cannot figure out something for where you live, please feel free to contact me, and I'll be more than happy to try to look into your individual situation and figure out what can be done so you can get past this particular step. For those of you that live in the USA, though, you can use a service called Google Voice. And Google Voice, as long as you live in the USA and have a USA phone number. I guess technically you don't have to live in the USA. If you have a USA phone number that you can use, then you should still be able to use this service. I know at least one of my trainees is a US citizen but lives outside of the USA. So if you still happen to have a US phone number, you may still be able to use this particular service here. So simply create an account here on Google Voice if you need to get a mobile phone number, and just ask for a new number, and you can get that mobile number here that you can then go take over to Twitter and actually use to activate your account. So now, to start with, I'm going to take this number here and I'm going to go over to Twitter and I'm going to activate my phone. Now, this is obviously a US phone number, so I have punched in my number here, and now I click on the Activate Phone button. Now this shows me a screen here that says it is waiting for an activation text from my phone number. So this means that I have to take the next action to verify my Twitter account here. Now exactly what I am supposed to do is printed right up above here. If you live in the USA, you'll see the exact same instructions right here. It'll say text go to 40404. Now if you don't live in the USA, it may give you a different number right here to text to. So make sure you pay attention to this if you are not living in the United States. So all you have to do at this point is then go to this mobile phone number now and complete this text. And as long as you can do that, then you can activate this service on your Twitter account. So now I'm going to go over to Google Voice and send that text message now. All I have to do is click on text right up here, type in 40404, and under message, I just type in go in all capital letters. Then I just click on the send button, and this sends my text to that shortcode number. Now, I didn't have to provide any billing information or anything like that with Google Voice here to be able to set up that number, so there's obviously no, possible charges that can be associated, and even Twitter states that there are no charges associated with this. Now, this page on Twitter automatically updates itself. As soon as it realizes that I sent that text in, then it'll update and say my phone is now activated. Now further down the page, I have all of these text notifications here. As you can see, there's a number of different options. What this is going to do is whenever certain things happen on Twitter, things that typically generate email notifications for your Twitter account, these things end up generating text notifications. So you'll actually receive a text on your mobile phone or on your Google Voice account, whatever the case may be, when these things happen on Twitter. Now, if you are using your real mobile phone number for your Twitter account, then you're probably like me and you don't want to be getting filled up with all these text notifications all day long, especially since these accounts can end up getting pretty active after some time passes, and you may even have multiple accounts out there that you end up doing this type of thing for. So personally, I end up going through and disabling every single one of these text notifications because I'm not interested in receiving these notifications or really ever looking at them. And ultimately, these things are not necessary for what it is that we are trying to do. So once you're done with all that, click on Save Changes, and then we are all set up to proceed on to the next step. Now that this is complete, we can then go on to work with the custom plugin that I've provided as part of this particular class. This plugin is called WP to Twitter. You can download the plugin from the course material for this class and just simply go into WordPress, into plugins, go to Add New, and upload that plugin and activate it on your site. Once you have it activated, go into the sidebar, go to the Settings menu, and look for WP to Twitter in that menu. This will take you to the options page for this plugin. Now on this page, there are a decent amount of settings and various things that can be done. The page is a little on the long side, but ultimately you don't have to worry about the majority of this page, especially right now when you are getting things set up. Your first focus should be just on this one box that is right here in the top. This is the Connect to Twitter box. There are 4 different steps here, and we simply need to proceed through these 4 steps to get our plugin connected up to our Twitter account, so the website can automatically post those tweets for us. Now, before we proceed on with these 4 steps, there's one thing that you need to take a look at before you do that, and that is right up here where it's talking about your server time and Twitter's time. Look at these 2 timestamps. Look at the date, look at the hours, and make sure that they are essentially the same. They need to be within 5 minutes of each other, or ultimately your website's not going to be able to connect to Twitter. Now, if your times are not correct, as you can see on my site, they're completely identical, and for most of you, it'll end up being the same way. You really shouldn't have to worry about this step, but it's still worth pointing out because in the 1% of cases where the times might not be the same, you can literally end up pulling your hair out trying to figure out why this isn't working if you're not aware of this. So if your times do not match, you can attempt to go to the general settings page and change your time zone there to see if that can get you within 5 minutes. But if the minutes are actually the part that's off, if let's say it's off by 7 minutes and not 5 or less, you would potentially either need to go into your hosting control panel or maybe even contact your web host to see if they can alter the server time so you can get past this particular step. Chances are, though, you shouldn't have to worry about this. Now, proceeding on, we have our 4 steps to go through. The first step here, we need to register this site as an application on Twitter's application registration page. And we have a link that takes us to that page right here. So we simply need to click on this link to start with to get to the proper page on Twitter. Now, there's some notes here to keep you on track. If you're not logged into Twitter, make sure you're logged in to your account that you want associated with this site. Your name and the description for the application, first of all, the name can include the word Twitter, and the description can be anything. Ultimately, the name and the description are not going to be important here. And then the website and the callback URL should be our website address. So with all of those things in mind, we will jump over here to the application. So we have a name, a description, a website, and a callback URL. So I will typically just name the application after my website. Ultimately, nobody's going to end up seeing this except for you. So you really don't have to put a lot of thought into the name and the description here. So I will just simply put some information on there so I can realize what these apps are if I'm glancing at the name and description in the future. So the website and the callback URL are actually the important parts. You need to simply put in http:// and then your domain name. And then simply repeat the process down here for the callback URL. Now make sure your addresses are correct, because it's not going to work correctly if you don't have these set up. Now once you get done with those settings, scroll down here to the bottom. We have these developer rules of the road. You simply need to agree to these rules. Now ultimately there are some restrictions in here, but you don't really have to worry too much about violating any of these. A lot of them have to do with, the way you go about developing things, and obviously the development is already done. You're just connecting all this up. But still take a glance through there just so you are aware of what you're agreeing to. Now just click on the Create Your Twitter Application button when you're ready to proceed. And this will take you into the application management page. Now from this page, we have a couple of things that we need to take care of. I'm going to jump back over here to my plugin for just a moment, because we completed step 1. So I'm going to move on to step 2 now. This tells me switch to the permissions tab in Twitter apps. And then we need to select read and write for the application type and update the application settings. So back on Twitter, we're going to go to the permissions tab now. And here are the permissions that it was talking about. We need to switch this from read only to read and write. Now, if you did not proceed through with adding your mobile phone number to your Twitter account, this is the place where you will hit a problem. You will not be able to get past this particular step. It simply will not allow you to move off of read only unless you have a mobile phone connected to your account. Now ultimately, what's going on here, these are the permissions that your app has to work with your Twitter account. So we need to not only be able to read tweets off of our account. Ultimately, we don't really have to be able to do that. What we want to do is to be able to write tweets to our account. So that's why we need this additional permission here to be able to successfully pull off this particular strategy. So once we have the permissions selected, just go down below and click on Update Settings. Now, you may notice that it jumped back to read-only right here. That's quite okay. Sometimes it does not update this stuff immediately. As you can see right up here, that it says sometimes it may take a moment for the changes to reflect. Now, we're going to move on to step 3. For step 3, it says switch to the API Keys tab and regenerate your API keys, then create your access token. So we need to copy our API key and our API secret key and provide those into these text boxes. So going back over to Twitter, first of all, I can simply refresh this page right here to verify that I am indeed on read and write permissions now. Then I can go to the API Keys tab. Now, again, very important, right here where it says access level, make sure that it says read and write here. If it does not say read and write, if it says read only, go down below and click on Regenerate API Keys. This will open up a window. Just click on Regenerate API Keys yet again, and this will refresh your API keys with the new permissions that you already have set. Now, if you again don't see it reflected here, it mentions yet again that some of these changes can take a moment. Just click on the refresh button up above and get your new keys. Now, as you can see here, these keys are different from the ones that were on the screen just a moment ago. So if I had gone ahead and copied those keys, even though it said read and write, because I had regenerated my keys, ultimately those old keys wouldn't be working anymore. So just make sure you are getting the most up-to-date keys before you actually copy them and paste them into your plugin. So we have an API key here and an API secret here. So I'm just going to copy these and paste them in to the plugin. So I have an API key, and now I need the API secret. So I will copy this one and paste it into my plugin as well. Now I can proceed on to step number 4. For step number 4, I need to copy and paste my access token and access token secret into the fields below. And I also need to make sure that they are again set on read and write. So I'm going to jump back over here. Now to get my access tokens, this is on the same page. I just have to look down at the bottom. Your access token, and there is a button here that says create my access token. So I'm just going to click on this button here, and this will refresh my page. Now, even though I just clicked on the button, nothing's showing up down here. Same thing happens again. It sometimes takes a moment for these changes to actually take effect. So all I need to do is go up here and refresh my page. Now that I have done this, you can see that I have access tokens being displayed for me. So look at the access level once again. Make sure it is set on read and write, because this is very, very important, or else things won't work correctly. Then you just want to copy your access token and paste it in here, and then copy your access token secret and paste it in the second box. Now that we have completed these 4 steps, we are ready to connect this plugin to our Twitter account. All we have to do now is click on the Connect to Twitter button. Once we do this, just look for the message at the top of the screen that says WP to Twitter is now connected with Twitter. This means that we have set everything up correctly and successfully connected this plugin with our account. You can also see down below here where it says disconnect from Twitter. You can remove that connection if you need to by simply clicking on this button. Now, I have a lot of other options and settings available here. I'm going to come back and talk to you guys about some of these settings here in a little while. But for now, I just want to point out one particular setting. Google Analytics setting, you can see here close to the bottom of the page. If you are using Google Analytics on your website, so you already have the tracking code set up and you are tracking traffic on this site, you can use this particular setting to specifically track your Twitter traffic. Now, there are 2 different options here that you could use. By default, this will be set to no analytics. So if you want to use this, you have to come down here and turn this on. I like to use the static identifier, at least in most cases. This will simply tag all of my links that are being posted on Twitter with a Twitter identifier. So Google Analytics can separate that traffic from the rest of it. Now, if I had a much larger website, perhaps with a lot of different categories that I have posts in. Maybe I wanted to track things based on the category. I could use this setting here and make the identifier my category. But then I also have other options where I could use the post title, so I could track on a post-by-post basis if I wanted to. Whatever you would like to use for that, is just kind of based on personal preference, how you like to do tracking and be able to analyze that information. So simply save your settings. If you have made an adjustment here to your Google Analytics settings before you proceed. Now, one more thing I want to mention. There's this option right here for URL shortening services. If you have a particular service that you already use or you would prefer to use, you can choose to use one of these in particular and set up the account settings for that shortener down below. However, this is not something that you have to do at all. Twitter automatically has their own URL shortening services, so you can just simply use that and use your standard links to the pages on your site. I actually prefer to use those anyways, because when it's printing the link in your tweet on Twitter, it still shows your domain name instead of being one of the shortened addresses. So personally, I don't do anything with this. I just tell it don't shorten URLs, and that will automatically use the Twitter shortening service. But just in case you want to use a particular one, those options are here in this plugin. So now I'm going to come back to some of these settings in just a few here, but for now I want to show you how all of this works before I fill your brain full of more information about adjusting settings on this plugin. So I'm going to jump over to a post that is on my site. Now, I've only made a tweet for one particular post on this site. I would not recommend going back through your old post and trying to create tweets for them through WordPress itself. If you want to reference an old post that you've already created, just go to Twitter and create a manual tweet for it. So when you're going through and writing your new post on your site, whether you're setting them up to be published immediately or to be scheduled at a future date and time, then you can use the WordPress system here to publish tweets for you. To find this, it's in the right-hand column, all the way at the bottom most likely. There is a box called WP to Twitter. And in that box, you have a large text box called Custom Twitter Post. Whatever you write in this box will get published as your tweet. Now, there are a number of options that you can use to make your life a little bit easier with these custom tweets. First of all, if you do not want to necessarily go through and write a custom tweet for every new post that you're creating, you're already creating a search engine description and a social networks listing description for this page, and you're writing the content for the page itself, So at this point, some people may not want to put forth a lot of effort in trying to create a custom tweet here. Well, you can decide to not provide anything in this box at all and completely rely on the template system. Now the template system, you can see right below here, your template. It says post edited title URL. This is referencing these template tags that are listed down below here. We have a number of them that are available for us to use, and these can be used either in our template or in our custom tweets. Now I'm going to come back to this template here in just a moment. I want to go ahead and talk to you about some of these template tags here though. If you see right here, these template tags kind of look like hashtags. I have this one that says URL, and it has a number symbol both in front and behind it. Well, if you look up here at my custom tweet that I have written, I have used this particular template tag at the end of my tweet. This particular template tag gets changed into the URL of this particular post on my website. So I don't have to go and find what that link is. I can simply put this URL template tag in my custom Twitter post, and it'll automatically take care of that for me when that tweet is published. Now, in addition to that, I have a normal hashtag up here. You can see I've put the word carbon fiber and turned it into a hashtag and used it within the middle of my sentence here. You can put hashtags or even username references where you put the @ symbol followed by a Twitter username. You can use both of those things here in your custom tweets. Now, the hashtag and the template tag look really, really similar, but they're not the same thing here. The ending number symbol makes the difference between a hashtag and a template tag. Now, there's a number of other template tags available. Title will reference the title of the post you're creating. Post will reference a short excerpt from the beginning content of your post. Category will reference the category name that your post has been put into. So if you had a variety of different categories on your site and you wanted to label each of your tweets with that category, you can do so using this particular tag. If you had a larger site with a number of different categories and maybe your followers weren't really interested in all of your categories and you were quite aware of this, you could try to target that traffic a little bit more so people can just find the information they want by labeling it with the category. You also have tags like date or modified, which will show the date the post was created or the date the post was last modified. You also have author and account, which will actually reference usernames on Twitter for either your main account or your author that is actually creating the post on the page. So if you had a number of different authors on your site and let's say each of those authors had their own Twitter accounts and you wanted them to be able to reference themselves in the tweets that you're publishing, you can reference their usernames by using the author tag, for example. Now, one of the more potentially useful ones here is the tags tag. What this is going to do, if you use this particular template tag in your tweet, it is going to take the WordPress tags and convert them into Twitter hashtags. Now, if you're already using the tag system on WordPress to simply put keywords on your post, it may not be the best idea to use this system. But if you are not using tags whatsoever and you're not using them for anything else on the site, and you've disabled all the links for them on the site, and so search engine traffic can't get to those tag pages, you may be able to use tags here simply for your Twitter hashtags. So I could have put in a tag here, carbon fiber, and it would have converted this, it would have removed the space and turned it into this particular hashtag. So you could use that to automatically create hashtags for you. So I could have had tags here down at the end of it. So it puts tags and the URL on the end of my message. Now again, your Twitter posts are limited by a certain number of characters. And when you're using some of these replacement tags, sometimes you're not necessarily going to really be aware of how many characters they will take up, but this plugin actually calculates that kind of stuff for you. You see I'm at -2 characters right now. I'm going to remove the URL tag here. If this was only counting actual characters that were in this box, then it would only remove 6 characters from this, 5 from the tag and 1 for the space in front of it. But by removing that, you can see that it actually made a difference of 24 characters instead. So it is actually calculating how many characters that URL would take up in my tweet. So you can really depend on this characters left calculation even when you're using tags. Now, I want to talk about the template system right here for a moment. If you did not want to go through the trouble of writing out a tweet every time you make a post, you can use the template system to write those tweets for you. As long as this option is set to tweet this post, then when you publish the post or even update the post, it's going to publish a tweet for you. Now, to change that behavior, you have to look at the status update templates. Right here we have 2 tabs, one for the posts and one for the pages. These will be the ones you are most commonly using. And on each of these we have 2 options: update when a post is published and update when a post is edited. So if I didn't want a new tweet happening just because I edited a post, I could remove this option and it would not automatically attempt to send those tweets for me. Now, so let's say I didn't want to go through the trouble of writing out my own tweet. I just want to use this template system maybe. And I only want to do that when a post is published. This box right here would then control what all of my tweets are on my account for every post that I write, if I'm not going to custom write my own post. So what you can do is simply modify this to make your tweets automatically get generated how you want them to. So let's say you didn't want to identify it as a new post. Maybe that's just taking up extra characters that really don't need to be there. You could remove that. So currently we're left with title and URL tags. Well, this would give me the title of my post followed by a link to that post. But in a lot of cases, I would probably have more characters available that I could use. There's not going to be any hashtags in this, for example. So let's say I wanted to put the tags tag right in the middle of it. So I have the title of my post, then I have hashtags, and then I have the URL to that particular post. This is a pretty decent setup if you're going to allow the template system to write your post for you. The only thing you have to worry about if you are using this automatic system here is on your post itself, just make sure you are providing tags. Add a couple of different tags that will then be converted into hashtags from this part of the template. Now, you can use any of those shortcodes that were listed over here in this notes box. But back here on the plugin page, you also have a list of shortcodes. And you may notice there are actually a few more of them listed here. And you can even create your own custom shortcodes if you would like to, off of some kind of custom field. Custom fields being these things right here. So you can create custom fields and have that kind of stuff automatically put into tweets. Some plugins will create custom fields for you, and you could turn that information into tweets potentially. It just kind of all depends on what you're set up here. There's a lot of different options and ways you can customize this if you would like to, but you can still use this in a more simplified version and not worry about all that. So now, if I'm using this system here to automatically create my tweets for me, there are some settings that I have to pay attention to. Down below here in the advanced settings, one of these, use tag slug as hashtag value. If I wanted to be using this particular template tag and turn those tags into hashtags, then I need to select this particular option. Now, as you can see, spaces in my tags will be replaced with nothing, and the number of tags to include and the maximum length of characters for the included tags. So this will turn 3 of my WordPress tags on that post into hashtags. So let's say I only wanted 2. I could change this to 2 really easily. Maybe I wanted to allow potentially more characters. I could increase this. So make sure you mess with these settings if you are planning on using this particular template tag. Whether you're using it here for the automatic posts, or even if you decide to use it in the custom post here. Either way, you still need to mess with these settings. So now, another option for a template tag that could be commonly used is the post tag. I've mentioned this before. It will provide an excerpt of your post in your tweet. So with this particular setup, I would have the title, followed by an excerpt of the post, followed by some hashtags, followed by the URL back to my post. Now, this could work out pretty good, but the question is, what controls all this? What determines how long of my post, how much of it is really going to be pulled into this tweet? And what happens if that takes up too much space? Will my URL get cut off? Will my hashtags be cut off? Because obviously I don't want a tweet that just contains the title and the post excerpt. I need this later information. Well, there are settings to handle all of that stuff. Down here below we have template tag settings. The first one, length of post excerpt in characters. This will pull 30 characters for the post template tag. So this controls how much of your post gets pulled in. Now, with a setup like this, to ensure that the URL and the tags don't get cut off, I would want the post excerpt to be shortened first if I ran out of space in my tweet. Well, this is how it works by default. If you look down below here, we have a template tag priority order. Everything with a higher number will have a higher priority than everything with a lower number. So as you can see, my tags have a pretty high priority, and my excerpt has a really low priority. So my excerpt will be the first to get shortened, and then my title would get shortened if it still needed more space. And way down the line, my tags would get shortened. You don't even see URL here because it's not going to ever shorten that. So if you wanted to create a particular template for your tweets and you wanted certain pieces of information in that template to take priority over other pieces of information, if you were running out of space in that tweet, this handles all of that. You can adjust these if you need to create your own custom template, so you wouldn't have to worry about writing tweets for all of your new posts. Now, you have some other options available to you. If you wanted to add custom text before or after all of your tweets, you can include that in these text boxes. There are even more options available here. Permissions, for example, if you had a number of different user accounts on your WordPress site. Let's say you have different authors or contributors that are writing posts on your site. You can choose to give them control over these tweets, whether you want them to actually be able to write them and manage that stuff or not. Now, with the tweet itself, back here on this page, this particular tweet that I made says utilize carbon fiber hashtag on almost anything with a motor, boats, trailers, tow vehicles, four-wheelers, and much more. And then I have the URL. If I go and look at this on Twitter, this has actually already been published just a couple of days ago. You can see it right here. My hashtag for carbon fiber is turned into a link for that hashtag page. So then other people that are visiting this page can potentially find my tweet. If I continued scrolling down, I would likely find it in that list somewhere. Now, this can help to bring you extra exposure for your tweets and for your Twitter account, and obviously help to bring in more traffic for your website. And then you also have the link back to your post on the end of it. Now, if you see, it's printed out looking like it's a normal link to my website, and they just simply cut it off after 22 characters. If you hover over it, you can see what the full intended link is supposed to be, and you can also see the Twitter identifiers that are put on the end of it. Those are because of my Google Analytics settings. So it knows when traffic is coming from Twitter to my website and through particular posts. Now, if you look in the very bottom left-hand corner of my screen, you can see that this link is not really the link to my website. It's actually a shortened link. It says t.co/Q47VFZ and so on. So it's a shortened link that Twitter has automatically handled for me. And I didn't have to worry about punching that in to my tweet. All I used was this URL tag. So whether you want to write your custom tweets for every post and save yourself a little bit of effort by using some of these template tags and mixing it in with your own unique writing, or whether you just want to let the template system handle it all for you, this plugin can take care of all of it. Now, this plugin can also do some other things. One of these in particular that I want to point out to you, this, out of everything that I've showed you today, this one thing is not a requirement. You do not have to do this on your websites. But some of you may want to use this. And so I simply wanted to make you aware that it exists and to briefly teach you how it works in case you would like to use it. This is a widget that will actually show the latest tweets from your Twitter account, and it will put it on your website. All you have to do is just look for WP to Twitter latest tweets and drag this into a widget location. The primary sidebar is likely going to be the best choice for this particular widget. And once we have added this, we just need to provide a little bit of information here to get started. Now, the title is technically optional, but I would recommend to still have one there to identify what this information is to your website visitors. So I would commonly use something like latest tweets. Now down below, it asks for my Twitter username. So I just type in Carbon Fanatic there. I don't need the @ symbol in front of my username. Now, I could technically try to pull tweets in from somebody else's Twitter account this way, and it would work, but ultimately you don't really want to do that because this widget is going to promote that Twitter account essentially, so you would end up building followers for them and, you know, promoting their post and all that other stuff. So there's really not a lot of point to doing that, except, you know, obviously to try to bring in some extra content for your site that you didn't have to create yourself. But for the cross promotion aspect, it's probably not worth promoting somebody else's Twitter account in this manner. So just provide your own username and then just type in a number of tweets that you want to show in this widget. Now the remaining settings here are all optional, and they will simply change what information gets displayed in the widget and how it gets displayed. But for now, I'm just going to save these changes here and show you what this widget looks like on my website. So now I'm just going to refresh the page of this particular post, and you can see now down in the corner I have this latest tweets box. This particular box, up at the top of it, I have the profile image that I have used for my Twitter account. I have the name that I have set on my Twitter account, and then I have my username. The username is linked up to my profile page. But then I also have this little Twitter bird right here. If I click on this, when I'm hovering, it says view your profile on Twitter. So if I click on it, it actually opens up Twitter in a little window instead of completely taking them off to another screen. Now, if this was not my own account, if I was just a visitor from another website on here, this would be a follow button right here, making it pretty easy to see the recent tweets, find out a little bit about the user, and to easily follow them. So this can be a way to help you build Twitter followers. But again, it's not something that you have to use, because the tweets that are being shown, these are obviously referencing recent posts that are on your site. And these recent posts are linked up right up here. So these just link out to the Twitter pages. This links up to a conversation page for that particular tweet. So in that regard, I don't think having the actual tweets showing up here is really very useful. And that's why I basically recommend to avoid using this in most cases. But if you are running a really heavy Twitter follower site where you notice that most of the people are engaging with you on Twitter, and maybe Facebook's not doing a lot for you or something, and you're getting most of your traffic off of Twitter, you could decide to incorporate Twitter more heavily into your website to try to increase that engagement even more so. So that would be one particular circumstance where it could be handy to use something like this. Now we have all these different options here that we can use. If I look at my tweets that are showing up, I have hashtags in my tweets and I have links in my tweets, but these aren't clickable like they are on Twitter. If I wanted them clickable, I would need to use these settings here: parse links, parse @mentions, and parse hashtags. That would turn all of those items into actual links. So then the carbon fiber hashtag would actually link to, wait a second, why did I do that? Okay, there it goes. Obviously that links back to the same post on my site because that is the same post. This would go back to my homepage, for example. You have other options available to you here, such as hiding replies to tweets of yours where other people will post replies. You can choose to show those. They're already going to show by default, or you can choose to hide them. You could choose to show retweets that you have made. On this page here, these are the only 2 actual tweets that I have made so far on my Twitter account. But I have made 1 retweet so far. If I wanted to show that, I could simply do that by checking this text box. Now, some other options here, I can include my reply, retweet, and favorite links, for example. This again would be more useful on a Twitter-heavy website where I wanted to encourage that engagement on my tweets directly from my website. So people could reply to my tweets here, or retweet them to their account, or mark them as favorites. And then you can see here is my retweet that I have made that is now being displayed. So whatever you would like to be showing there, you can adjust those particular settings as needed. Now the final thing that I would like to show you guys today is how you can build some followers from your website itself and without using that particular widget. If you notice up at the top of my page, I have this follow us on Twitter button that I have added to this header area where I'm putting all of my social media stuff. This allows people to easily follow me on Twitter or on Facebook, or I will eventually have something for Pinterest up here as well. So people that come to my website off of Facebook, for example, maybe they use Twitter more frequently, or they'd prefer to follow me there. They can easily find me that way. If I get people off of search engines, they can choose to follow me on Twitter or on Facebook. So I accomplish that goal of reaching the same readers over and over and over again by having them connected with me on one of these social networks. So I want to show you guys how you can put this up at the top of your site as well. I have provided an image file for this class, which you can find in the course materials, and that is this particular image that you see here. And we are going to take that image, and you want to download it to your own computer, and then go to your WordPress site, go over to Media, and then go to Add New. Now on this page, you just want to click on Select Files, find that file on your computer, upload it, and once you upload it, it'll display it right down below here, and there will be an edit link out beside it. Now whether you click on that edit link or later come back to the image that you have uploaded, I've already uploaded it here, so I find it in the library and I can click on edit here instead. No matter which edit link you clicked on, you will end up on this page that you are seeing now. And on this page, you want to look for the save box and the file URL. This file URL, you want to select the entire thing and copy it. This is the internet address for that image. So if I just visited that page on the internet, I would get to my image. I need to take that image address and use it in some HTML coding. This is a text file that I have also provided as part of the course material for this class, and you can also find this within the guidebook for this class as well. There are 3 parts of this file that you need to alter, and they are all within capital text. One here, and one down below here. Simply read what the capital letter text says and replace it with the appropriate information. So right here it says replace with your Twitter username. Okay, so I will type in Carbon Fanatic. Next up, I have replace with my Twitter image URL. That is what I just retrieved over there. So I can now paste that complete URL in right there. And finally, replace with your website name. I can simply type in Carbon Fanatic. I could do it all with spaces. I could put it all together like that and put a .com on the end of it. Whatever my personal preference is, it ultimately will not matter. So now that I have this code created, I want to copy all of this code, and I'm going to be putting this into my website. Now, if you remember from my Facebook class, where I had you set up these boxes up here, this was all done through the header horizontal widget area in the Weaver theme. I have 4 text widgets that I had previously created, and the bottom 3 text widgets occupy all of this white space up here in my header. So the last one was my Facebook like button over here. The third one was my follow us on Facebook link. So then my second one, I had previously only had placeholder code there. There was a div tag that created 245 pixels of blank width space in that widget area. So what I want to do now is to take that and replace it with my new code. I can show you exactly how it looked previously. So you should come in to this text widget and see this already sitting here in the second text widget. So you then want to take that code and delete it and replace it with all the code that you just created from this text file here. So we want to copy this and we want to paste this into our widget. And then after we save that and update the changes on our website, then we have this Twitter button here. I can go ahead and refresh just so you see that it does the exact same thing that I had already had set up there from the previous class. So now if I click on this, people can easily get over to my Twitter account to follow me, to check out what my tweets are, to engage with my tweets, send me a message, whatever the case may be. Now, since we have Twitter completely connected now, our next step will be to proceed on to our final social network, which is going to be Pinterest. And we will be again connecting Pinterest up with our site, just like we have done Twitter and Facebook here. Now, for these types of blogs, since we are using an image with each of our posts, this really works out pretty good for Pinterest, because Pinterest is all about images. So we can easily create a Pinterest board and have all of our post images pinned up to it, and then people can share those and still get back to our website from them. So that will be our final social network that we will be covering starting with the next class.